Welcome in. Arkansas going to be starting its SEC finale tonight at Kentucky, regular season finale, that is. Game 1, 5:30 Central is the first pitch time up in Lexington at Kentucky Proud Park. Razorbacks go into this weekend. They're 6th in the SEC standings. This could go big either way. I mean, they could go up as high as 2. They could fall down, I think, as low as like 11 or 12. It's kind of crazy, the variance that not just for Arkansas, but for a lot of teams in the league. We're going to go through all of it today with Bubba Carpenter here in studio with us. I want to tell you that our baseball podcast is brought to you by H&R Tire and Auto. They're a third-generation family-owned business serving Northwest Arkansas since 1976. Just like great baseball programs, H&R is built on consistency, trust, and doing things the right way. No shortcuts and no gimmicks at H&R Tire and Auto. Also brought to you by Eggland's Best. When it comes to your game day, you want the best in your lineup. That includes your eggs. Eggland's Best delivers more the nutrition you need with 6 times more vitamin D and 25% less saturated fat than ordinary eggs. You can score now with Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, and better eggs. Visit eglandsbest.com for more information. Also brought to you by Southern Loft. They believe that your home should reflect your unique personality. That's why they offer a wide variety of stylish furniture pieces that are perfect for any taste. Whether you're looking for a new sofa for the living room, a sleek dining table for your kitchen, they've got just what you need. When you're looking for that piece of furniture that reflects you, visit Southern Loft at 3155 North College Avenue in Fayetteville or call 479-856-6100. Appreciate you being with us wherever you are. Maybe you're watching on YouTube. You can find us there, our Whole Hog Sports YouTube page. We also put our video on Facebook and Twitter, on social media. Just search Whole Hog Sports, or we put the audio version of our podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Again, just search Whole Hog Sports on any of those platforms. A lot of people want to talk about NCAA tournament, and we'll talk about regionals and hosting and those types of deals a little bit later in the program. But really the most pressing seed right now, Bubba, is where Arkansas is going to be in Hoover. Are they going to be a team that gets to have off until Wednesday? Or are they going to be a top 4 seed? And if you're a top 4 seed, you don't have to play until Thursday or Friday. Or if you're 9 through 16, you got to play Tuesday first down in Hoover. And it could go, any which way. So again, you could play your first game there as early as Tuesday. You could play your first game there as late as Friday. I know the team is going to go straight from Lexington to Hoover. So there could be a little bit of downtime, or there could be a lot of downtime for them once they get down to the Birmingham area. It feels like, and there's no guarantees because of the way tiebreakers can work and everything, but really if they win the series at Kentucky, that at least gets them to, I think, day 2 in Hoover. And then after that, you just kind of see where the pieces fall from there.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think you could fall from, playing on Tuesday to all the way up till Friday. Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
This has a real effect on us too, because it's like, are we traveling down there Monday, or are we going down on Thursday?
Of course, my kid would probably rather us play on Tuesday because he gets out of more school.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'd be great to play on Friday. I mean, I look at it from a pitching perspective. Mm-hmm. When whatever it takes so we can throw 100 deets that first game, or Thursday, I would assume we would throw it.
I tell you, I think the most ideal time to start would be Thursday, because you're starting in the quarterfinals. They changed the schedule up at the end of the week. So if you play on Thursday, then you would get to start your ace because he had thrown the Thursday before, that being today. And then you would get that Friday off where you could maybe recycle some relievers who had go for you Thursday and have them ready for the weekend.
But what if you don't? What if you play Wednesday? Do you bump Hunter up one extra day?
If you play Wednesday, if you play Wednesday, you actually could get that Thursday off. Or, maybe you play Wednesday, Thursday, and you get that Friday off if you win, get to the weekend. But, yeah, I don't know. I know that the SEC, the reason that all the series began at the end of the regular season on Thursday is because the SEC was tired of teams going down there and not throwing their guy in the tournament. So they wanted to give them a day of extra rest. So I don't know if that means Hunter Dietz would throw on 6 days rest. I don't know how that would work. We just have to wait and see, I guess.
Yeah, it probably depends on the matchup too.
May depend on what his outing's like tonight.
Yeah. So there's just so many questions. It's crazy. We've complained about the not having the just having one big clump of teams, 1 through 16.
Yeah, it's wild.
Not having divisions. And And then you look at it now, and it's just a mess right there in the middle. And yeah, I don't know if it was divisional. Would it still be all clumped up like this?
I don't think so.
I mean, it's just.
I think there'd be a lot more clarity as to
too.
who would be playing where. Because when you had the top 4 seeds that were based on East and West, it felt like there was never quite this much uncertainty going into the final weekend. Now I'm sure the SEC loves it because hey, this gets us a lot of eyeballs on our games and a lot of interest in the non. Your phone's barking at you right now.
My bad.
But a lot of interest in the games that aren't necessarily your team. You're having a hard time over there.
One of those days.
You're trying to be very subtle and like ignore your phone call and then you drop it down to the floor.
It probably answered, so someone's probably listening to us.
A free show. But it creates more interest in the last week of the regular season. But again, it's like you can go from maybe you play this day to maybe you play that day. It's hard to plan, and I would think that for coaches, they like to have a plan, and they're not going to be able to have a plan until everything shakes out Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, you and I are sitting here complaining about we don't know when we're going to leave, but I mean, think of DVH and the team. I mean, it's crazy on their end. But I think if we go to Kentucky and take care of business, then we're going to put ourselves in a good spot.
I think so too. I think,
and that's what I like
yesterday.
is I like the fact that I feel like we sort of control our own destiny to a certain extent, but not totally because we still need some teams around us to have bad weekends.
I think they control their path in the sense that they can keep themselves from playing on Tuesday.
Yeah.
If they go to Kentucky, and it can get really weird because like Texas and Texas A&M had that game rained out this year, so it's not a true. Hey, if you win 17 games, the team that's behind you with 16 wins can't jump you. There actually is some scenarios where that could happen, but from all of the numbers that I've crunched, so to speak, I can't really see a scenario outside of something getting really crazy where you've got multiple rainouts this weekend, where Arkansas would not start on that Wednesday. In other words, they wouldn't have to play on the first day in Hoover, and they could start at least on Wednesday if they win the series this weekend.
I guess the thing, I looked at the bracket and I tried to figure out, but there's no way to even, if you look at all the teams, I mean, right now, I guess if we went to Hoover right now, we would play the winner of Ole Miss and, it would probably be Ole Miss.
It would probably be Ole Miss and Missouri.
Yeah, I think you're right. But I mean, it's going to change.
It's going to change. It's going to change in a big way this weekend, just because there's too many teams. Like there's too many big series this weekend. Like there's some where you can say, okay, for instance, maybe. Well, now that how about Missouri going to Texas? We got a pretty good idea how that series is going to shake out, right? But you never know. I mean, last time Missouri went to Texas, that ended up being one of the craziest outcomes we've ever seen. But there's a lot of big series this weekend where you look at it and you're just like, who knows how this is going to go? Georgia goes to Auburn. What's Georgia's motivation going to be?
Yeah.
They've already locked up the SEC. We know Auburn's going to be very motivated. They're still trying to get a top 8 national seed. Mississippi State goes to Texas A&M. That's a big series. Ole Miss goes to Alabama. Both of those teams have got a lot to play for. Even Arkansas, Kentucky. I mean, I talked to Parker Coyle and Nolan Sousa about this the other night. They were actually out at I forget what you call it now, but Ryan Silverfield, the new football coach, had some sort of road show in Fayetteville, and they had a bunch of baseball players out there signing autographs beforehand. And I joked with somebody. I said, "Isn't that very Arkansas? The fact that you use baseball players to get people to come see the football coach, and not the other way around." But so I talked to Parker Coyle and Nolan Sousa out there for a little bit, and both of them, I think, are very aware of where Kentucky is. They're 30-18 overall. They're 12-15 in the SEC. If you look at the projections this week, D1 Baseball says they're one of the last 4 teams in the tournament. So they're hungry, and they're going to be playing. It's going to be senior day. They're going to be going through a lot of the same things that Arkansas was going through this last weekend with Oklahoma. They're expecting a fight from Kentucky.
Yeah.
And, so how does Arkansas-Kentucky go? kind of on the same line. Florida goes to LSU. LSU, it's been a terrible season for them. But, they're going to want to end their season, on a high note, maybe put themselves in position to be one of those bubble teams again for the tournament. They've been on the bubble as recently as a couple of weeks ago. It's really hard to figure out this last week, and I feel like this can be one of the most unpredictable weekends of the year, just because there are varying levels of motivation from these different teams.
Yeah, I just don't feel like we're not going to get much help from LSU.
You don't think so?
Even though they're
But
fighting.
Florida's been unpredictable this year. I mean, they're one of the hardest teams to figure out.
There's a lot of teams that if you look at Kentucky, they lost 2 or 3 at home to Mizzou.
Mm-hmm.
They lost 2 or 3 at home to Vandy.
But they also swept Alabama at home.
Yeah, well,
I mean,
it was
so it's
early
like,
though.
It was early, but
Yeah.
they swept Alabama. They beat Tennessee when Tennessee was very desperate a couple
Yeah.
of weeks ago. Beat them 2 out of 3. So they've been a very hard team to figure out. There in Lexington. These are the SEC standings, by the way, going into this weekend. Georgia's number 1. They've already wrapped up the SEC. You've got a second place tie right now between Texas and Texas A&M at 16 and 10. A tie for 4th between Alabama and Auburn at 16 and 11. And then there's a 3-way tie at 6th between Arkansas, Florida, and Mississippi State at 15 and 12. Ole Miss is 9th at 14 and 13, and we'll stop at Tennessee and Oklahoma tied for 10th at 13 and 14. Put a different way, Bubba, Arkansas is 1.5 games out of second place, and they're only 2 games above a tie for 10th place. That tells you, just how packed in and tight these teams are.
Boy, don't you look back and think about the South Carolina game?
Game 3.
Yeah.
Missouri game 3.
I mean,
Oklahoma game 3 last weekend. That felt very winnable.
Yeah. So you look at those 3 and think of where we'd be.
Mm-hmm.
Even we just win 2 of them.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
it's crazy. It's crazy. I don't remember it being like this ever, this tight at the end.
So,
I mean, maybe it has been below us. We've always been in the top, so we haven't had to really worry about what's going on.
That's a good point. And and there's always been like that last day you can fall from 2 to 4, or maybe you can shoot from 3 to 2 or something. But yeah, that's a good point, because it's been a while since we've had Arkansas that's been not a top 4 seed in Hoover, and maybe they are a top 4 seed this week. But it's going to take a strong weekend in Kentucky, and like you said, probably some help elsewhere to make that happen.
Yeah, and when we're a top 4, and I don't know, you're probably different. You look at things different than I do, I think. If we're a top 4 seed, I don't even bother myself with what's going on below us. I worry about,
Who's
who
on
we're
your side of the
matching
bracket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which bracket we end up in, who we end up matching up to, who we potentially might play.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I got a question for you. So let's say we win the first 2 games and we get to game 3, and this might be a stupid question, but would there be a scenario where we don't want to win that 3rd game based on
I don't think so.
where we end up in seeding?
I
Like
don't
maybe
think
we
so.
don't want to be in that, but we don't like the matchup, so we might.
I don't think so.
No.
No, I don't think so. I think you want to keep winning, and because you're also looking at beyond Hoover, there's still that possibility of of hosting a regional, depending on who you listen to. But beyond that, of putting yourself in a position to play a weaker regional host if you are going to go on the road. So I think you win.
Yeah.
I think you just want to keep winning.
Told you it was a stupid question.
Yeah,
But
there are no stupid questions, right?
No, sometimes there are. there really are sometimes.
I think if you want to look at this weekend optimistically for Arkansas, you very certainly can. I mean, you look at the teams who are in front of Arkansas. They're not catching Georgia. They're probably not going to catch Texas, because Texas plays Missouri this weekend. But right there, those next 3 teams, A&M, Auburn, and Alabama. Again, A&M plays Mississippi State.
Mm-hmm.
Auburn plays Georgia. Alabama plays Ole Miss. Those are all going to be very difficult series. And, like we said earlier, if Missouri can go into Lexington and win a series, there's no reason to think that Arkansas couldn't go into Lexington and win a series and maybe sweep if they're playing well enough.
Yeah, I think we'd go in there and sweep them. There's nothing that really scares me about this team. You look at they've got a starter, Jackson Jelkin. 2 complete games in a row. He hasn't. He doesn't walk you. He strike out a lot of players.
Mm-hmm.
He'll strike out a lot of hitters. Doesn't really walk anyone. If you look at his numbers, the last 2 times out, they've been really good. 9 innings against Florida, 7 hits, 2 runs, 12 Ks, 1 walk. Against Tennessee the week before, 8 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs, 11 Ks, no walks.
And he'll be their Game 3 starter.
Yeah, and so our Game 3s haven't gone well,
Right.
And then they've got numbers wise, they've got their best dude Game 3.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you know why they switched that up?
I don't know why I think they've had some injuries in their pitching staff. Number one, that's affected them this year. Like for instance, the guy who's going to throw tonight is Nate Harris. He's a right-hander. He pitched last week at Florida. Threw 18 pitches. Didn't go well for him, but it was his first time throwing since April 11th. He had suffered a shoulder injury down at Auburn, and so he's going to go Game 1. Ben Cleaver, who's kind of been their number one guy at least for the last few weeks, they're going to hold him for Game 2. I don't know if this is a deal where they feel like Cleaver needs an extra day of rest to go on to stay on a Friday to Friday schedule. Maybe it's the fact that Harris only threw 18 pitches against Florida. Maybe they're pitching off because they don't want to throw their guy against Hunter Dietz. That's a very that's a plausible explanation too. But it's been very difficult from what I've been told with Kentucky, and I don't know if the injuries are in their pitching staff or in their position players, or maybe it's a combination of both. They've been a very beat up team over the last few weeks. But yeah, that's when you look at it, it's been really hard on a week by week rotation basis to get a feel for who's their Game 1 guy, their Game 2 guy, their Game 3 guy, because it seems to change a lot.
Yeah, it looks like to me they're pitching off.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Looks like to me they think their best chance of winning this series is to flip-flop things. But I think we'll do well against the lefty. I do. I think he doesn't throw hard. He's kind of a crafty lefty type guy. Can throw any pitch at any count. I think we'll do well against him. I really do. Our lefties hit lefties well. And, our righties have shown a good job of staying in the zone lately. Talking about guys like Aloy, Pompey, guys like that. They've done a really good job of staying in the zone. I think we'll do well against him.
What's interesting to me is that if you look at the Kentucky, they played the easiest schedule in the SEC. Did you see this? When you look at their the combined winning percentage of their opponents this year in the SEC, their opponents have only won 45% of their games. And that's because, Bubba, they played the 4 teams who are all below them in the standings. They played Vanderbilt, they played LSU, they played South Carolina, and they played Missouri. Very interesting. I think they lost 3 of those 4 series. So it looks to me like Kentucky is a team that is capable of playing up or down to its level of competition. They haven't been swept this year. That's why they're still in contention to be in the postseason, because I think they may be one of only a handful of like maybe 2 or 3 teams in the SEC who haven't been swept. But they're just a really hard team to get a feel for.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think they've lost at South Carolina. They lost at home to Vandy, at home to Mizzou.
Well, and they lost to LSU. So I guess they lost to all 4 of the teams that are below them in the standings.
So it's crazy to me.
That's really
now
wild.
The sweep against Alabama. That was the first series.
That was
of
the first
season.
SEC series. Yep.
So who knows? Maybe they just peaked too soon.
Could have. Maybe Alabama was having a bad weekend. I mean, you never know. So you're real big into the SEC only stats, and I looked this up. Arkansas is better than Kentucky in all 3 of what I would consider kind of the main stats, which are scoring, ERA, and fielding percentage. Arkansas averages a little over, or about 6.7 runs per game. That's 3rd in the SEC, by the way, in scoring. Did you realize Arkansas was 3rd in the SEC in scoring?
No, I didn't. I actually read that in I think it was your article. Yeah.
That took me a little bit by surprise.
Yeah.
Because they've really shot up the last 2 weeks. They scored 21 runs against Ole Miss. They scored 34 runs against Oklahoma. And then, we were talking all year about, man, where are the home runs? Their home runs are really down. All of a sudden, you look now, and they've got 83 home runs on the season. And I would bet, I don't know this, but I would bet the majority of those, or close to it, have come in SEC play, because that's when they've really heated up. They've hit 20 in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, they have 47 in SEC play. There's so many things that stand out to me. Like, I look at our team batting average SEC play only is 249. But then you look at a guy like Cam Kojal. What do you think he's hitting in the SEC only games?
I would guess it's probably up in the 210 to 220 range now.
Yeah. See, if you don't
but
know,
it was like in the 180s not too long ago.
But if you're not really locked in, like you and I are locked into the stats, and we know week to week what guys are doing. Like if you're just an average fan, Wouldn't you think he's hitting over 300 in SEC play? Seems like he's always getting big hits. I mean, I don't know. It's crazy that that's his average.
What's he batting in the 8th inning?
That's
Probably
that's
like 900.
Yeah.
I mean, he's come through in the clutch for him a lot in the 8th inning this year.
There's something I say all the time, and I probably overuse it. It's not what you hit; it's when you hit.
Yeah.
And you see that in certain guys, and Kozel's one of them. Like that when it, we used to say it about Kendall Diggs several years ago.
I remember that.
He slumped his last year wasn't good. Last two, but when he
after
was
the shoulder injury, he was not the same.
Yeah. He was one of those guys I used to always say, it's not what you hit, it's when you hit. Because there was like this thing about the 3-run homer. Boom. Kendall, when he came up with 2 runners on base, you always felt like something big was going to happen. That's how I am with Kozel right now.
Hey, to finish this thought, Arkansas 6.7 runs per game in the SEC. Kentucky's 9th in the SEC in scoring, just under 6 runs a game. Arkansas's 9th in the SEC in ERA at 6. By the way, wouldn't you think that a 6 ERA would be a lot worse than 9th? You look around the SEC, there's a lot of teams that are struggling to pitch this year.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who think the balls are juiced, and like that's why the home runs are up. I don't know. Maybe the hitters are just way older than the pitchers and a lot more experienced. Maybe that's it. But that is one thing that stood out to me. Arkansas's got a 6.0 ERA, and it's just middle of the pack in the SEC. People have been ripping their hair out all year about Arkansas pitching. And rightfully so. It's been down from where it's been in past years, but it kind of tells you there's a lot of teams probably doing that this year about their pitching staff, Kentucky being one of them. They've got a 6.24 ERA, that's 12th in the SEC. Arkansas's 5th in fielding percentage at .977. Kentucky 13th in fielding percentage at .968. Dave Van Horn talked about fielding yesterday during his press conference previewing the series. And, he continues to say if you take away that one game against Georgia, which you can't do it, you take away that one game against Georgia, you're probably talking about a team that's fielding over .980 right now because they had 6 of their errors on that one day.
As good as you are at math, I'm surprised you haven't done the math on that.
When I go to fielding percentage, I actually have to I Google fielding percentage calculator, and I have to type in all the numbers. I can't.
Really?
Fielding percentage is one of those things I cannot do in my head. I can do whip. I can do, obviously, like, I can do a lot of them in my head. But some of them I have to go to the little baseball tool websites, which those are awesome, by the way.
Disappointed in you.
You know what happens a lot of times is that we put these every day we put a story on our site, and it's got it says how to watch because that's what people always Google. How do I watch the game? But I always update the stats in there, and I go back a lot of times too, and I will reference those stats. Hey, maybe Arkansas in the last 23 days has raised its batting average by 22 points or something. I'm not saying that's what it is right now, but I'll do that from time to time. Arkansas is really good about updating its stats right after the game. There are a lot of teams that are not. Yeah. And so there's a lot of times it's like 12 o'clock in the morning, and I'm sitting there and I'm having to calculate all of these teams' different stats. And I am very thankful for those baseball web tools on how to fielding percentage, slugging percentage, those type of deals.
Well, I think it's crazy to think the Kentucky's fielded 968.
Yeah, it's not a good number.
On turf, that's not a good number.
Explain to people about fielding on turf, by the way, because it's a lot different than fielding on grass. I talked to Dave Van Horn in the preseason, and we talked about the indoor facility and the turf that's in the indoor facility. And he talked about how you can get lazy on turf, especially as an infielder, and how they're really they get on their fielders about being aggressive and going to the ball and getting it when they're on turf because that can be the difference on that bang bang play at first base.
Yeah, and the thing about turf is every turf is different.
It is.
The temperature changes it. If it's 10 degrees hotter, the ball's gonna bounce different. Where if it's colder, it's gonna scoot a little bit more. If there's any moisture at all, I mean that ball's gonna skip off that turf. So, I think of it from terms. I played a lot of first base, and so, you always got to know who's throwing you the ball and the conditions, how hot it is. If the temperature is cold, ball's not going to bounce as high off when it skips to you. If it's wet at all, it's going to it's going to almost accelerate when it hits the ground. If it's warm, it's going to bounce more. So everything is different, and it's the same when you're reading a ball at third base. I always look at like a first baseman or a third baseman. You know, there's some tough reads at third base. I know Pompey got ate up on one ball. I want to say, wasn't that Missouri?
Yeah.
Where he got ate up on a ball where
Well,
he
you
kind of got
remember-
caught in between.
Remember at Missouri, there was I guess it went down as a wild pitch, but it made that really weird. It was where Zach Stewart got thrown out, actually trying to go from third to home. Remember, it made that
Yeah.
weird noise on the turf, and it
Yeah.
took a bounce like a Looney Tunes bounce right back to the pitcher, and
Yeah.
he was out. It's just it's so much different than playing on a natural surface.
Yeah, I hate playing on all turf fields. Now I can handle turf if the base paths are dirt.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when it's all turf.
Yeah, this is all turf at Kentucky, I think.
Yeah. And I'll tell you one thing we got to watch out for, and I think Dave mentioned it in his pregame or talk preview in the series, sliding.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you slide, that's the other thing. I mean, some turf when you slide, it holds you a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Other turf when you slide, it's like being on a sliding mat.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like you'll slide
Like
right
a slip
past
and
the
slide.
bag. Yeah, let's slip and slide.
Yeah.
You'll slide right past the bag,
Especially when it's wet.
and as fast as some of our dudes are.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was neat. I mean, it just goes to show you, Dave doesn't miss a thing. But those little things like that, like if you're stealing second, you slide past the bag. They know to hold the glove on you, you know, and it's crazy. All it takes is just coming off that much, and you're punched out.
I forget who I was talking to. This has been, and I forget when it was, to be honest with you. I was doing a story though on something in Van Horn's past, and again, I forget who I was talking to, but they were talking about like how detail oriented Van Horn was about his own playing field, and he would go to his groundskeepers before, and this has been many years ago, but it was like, hey, we're going to play a team that's going to try to play a little bit more small ball this week. Let's mow the grass maybe like a half inch higher, or something like that. You know, just where it slows it down just enough. It's amazing, you know, that level of attention to detail that these baseball coaches have. And you hear every baseball coach too talk this time of year, where they they'll say, I'm a part-time meteorologist. Between the level of emphasis or focus they put on the weather and the grass, it is. They do a lot more than coach baseball. I guess that's maybe what I'm trying to say. Or maybe that's just part of the job requirement.
Well, there's so much that goes into that. If you're facing a team that's fast, you water a little extra around the bases, especially around first base, because you want it to be slick. You don't want them to be able to get a good jump. I mean, there's so much that goes into it. There's so much stuff behind the scenes that's pretty cool. But and Dave referred to this again. I played I spent 7 years. Columbus, Ohio used to be turf. It's a Yankees AAA field, and those in between fly balls that bounce in between the infielders. If you're running the bases and when you start getting into later in the summer when it's hot, you can go to second on that automatically, because you know when it hits the turf it's going to bounce high, so you can round first and go to second almost automatically. You know, just on days like that. Now when it's cold or cooler, you got to know it's not going to bounce as high, so I better stop it first. But just little things like that kind of give you a home field advantage.
Speaking of the field, did you see that video I sent you this morning about the Montgomery Biscuits game?
Yeah, that was crazy.
I've never seen anything. So for people who haven't seen this video, it's a ball hit to the outfield, and the ball literally just gets stuck in the outfield grass. It looks like the baseball equivalent of the Sword and the Stone. I mean, like, all of the players are going and trying to take this thing out of the grass, and nobody can get it until, I guess, the chosen one, who's, the fourth or fifth who goes out there, he's able to pull it up out of the grass. I've never seen anything like that. It ends up being an inside the park home run, because this guy hits a little fly ball out into the right field, and nobody can get the ball out of the grass. It just sticks there.
So it looked like when the guy went to slide to catch it, his butt landed on the ball, right? And wedged it down.
Could have been, yes.
Yeah, that's what it.
Because he kind of overran it.
Yeah, so I don't know if there's a sprinkler there, and it's a moist spot. I don't know how it got buried that far down in the ground.
That's wild.
That's awesome. If you're the hitter, that's the cheapest home run you're ever gonna get.
A little league, minor league home run, or something like that. A reminder: our baseball podcast sponsored by H&R Tire and Auto. They're a local shop that's been family-owned for 3 generations. They built their reputation on taking care of customers the right way, and that kind of longevity doesn't happen by accident at H&R Tire and Auto. Bubba was able to pick up his phone right there.
Yeah, thank you.
Good timing.
You gave me a break.
So I wanted to mention something here. You look at the projections right now, and the projections are changing week by week. I've been telling people for the last couple 3 weeks. I said this is the hardest year I think it's going to be ever to project where a team goes in the NCAA tournament. First off, I think it's going to be hard to project who's hosting. Number two, I think that it's going to be very hard to tell who's going where because you've got these 4-team pods, where 1 through 4 has to be matched with 29 through 32 and 5 through 8 with 25 through 28 and so on. But the other thing that I think is making it really tough, Bubba, is that, and we talked to Kendall Rogers about this last week, the DSR, the Diamond Sports Rating, and how this is going to be implemented this year. It's going to be a metric that the selection committee can reference when they're putting together all of the things they put together. Who gets in, who gets to host, who gets sent where, ranked, so on and so forth. And so I looked up this morning. There are a lot of teams who their RPI and their DSR, they don't compute well. And so I'm going to mention some of these teams right now. And what I did was I think I went teams that have a variance of at least 6 spots, where their RPI and their DSR disagree by at least 6 spots. And so first off, these are the teams that RPI are a lot higher than their DSR. Alabama has got a number 6 RPI, a number 13 DSR. Southern Cal, 8 in RPI, DSR 21. So that's 13. Southern Miss, 9 RPI, a 20 DSR. We'll stop right there for a second because those 3 teams, Alabama, Southern Cal, and Southern Miss, are all being talked about as potential regional hosts. Right. In fact, I think, is it Baseball America this week, says that Arkansas would go to Southern Cal for a regional.
Yeah, saw that one.
Don't know if that'll happen.
Did you see the teams in that? That's a tough regional.
I did. I know there was another. Wasn't there another power team?
Yeah,
there, like as a 3 seed.
Yeah, and then Oral Roberts was the 4 seed. Who was the 3 seed?
Was it?
No.
Was it TCU?
It was someone good.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
I don't remember either. But anyway, Alabama, Southern Cal, and Southern Miss. If you look at their RPI, there's no doubt that they should be hosting. If you look at their DSR, especially with Southern Cal and Southern Miss, I think that there would be some doubt there. So again, what does the selection committee use? Do they rely on RPI? Do they rely on DSR? Here's a few more teams whose RPI is way higher than their DSR. Nebraska, 14 and 23, so 9 spots different. Oklahoma, 19 and 26, so 7 spots. And then here's some really wide margins. Cincinnati with a 21 RPI but a 39 DSR. Wow. And then Missouri State, which is one of Arkansas's, that's one of Arkansas's wins and losses that they're hanging their hats on right now, a 26 RPI and a 51 DSR. Wow. So that's a big deal. But really, Georgia is the team that I think has got people talking about RPI and how relevant RPI is this year, because Georgia, they've won the SEC. They're going to be a top 8 national seed. Nobody doubts that at all. They've got over 40 wins. They're really, really good. Their RPI says they're number 15, Bubba. And so you have to ask yourself, if you're the selection committee, are there 14 teams that are better than Georgia right now? And I think, your eye test, your whatever test would tell you there's no way that there's 14 teams better than Georgia. So to me, that would raise a lot of red flags about the RPI. And if it's that way with Georgia, it would make me rethink about what the RPI says about every team. And here's why this is relevant to Arkansas. Arkansas is one of these teams whose RPI and their DSR has got a pretty big margin in between them. Arkansas's got a number 27 RPI, a number 19 DSR. So a 27 RPI, that would not put you in the hosting conversation most years. A 19 DSR, that might, assuming that that's a metric that's used by the selection committee. The other teams, by the way, that have got big ranges between them: West Virginia, their DSR is 9, their RPI is 18. Kansas, their DSR is 14, their RPI is 22. Oklahoma State, 18 in DSR, 24 in RPI. And Tennessee, 17 in DSR and 32 in RPI.
So what are they going to go by, though?
I don't know, and that's the real mystery this year about what the selection committee is going to do.
Well,
do they give
May
more
14th.
weight?
Shouldn't they be figuring it out?
Well, I think maybe, and behind closed doors, I'm sure there are these conversations that are being had. But we're not going to know until we'll probably get a little bit of a peek into what they're thinking on the Sunday, because that's when they will tell who the 16 regional hosts are. But it's probably going to be Memorial Day when you see how teams are ranked, where you really get a feel for which one of these two did they lean on more heavily. Is it maybe a blend of the two? It's going to be really interesting. But I think that's why I keep telling people these regional projections, number one, there's a lot of games left. Number two, it's just really difficult to know what the selection committee is going to do because there's so many changes this year.
Well, to your point about Georgia, I mean, that goes to show you how flawed RPI can be. Just Georgia alone, not even looking at some of the other ones. I don't know. It's crazy.
When you get a lot of these teams like Kentucky, they canceled their game Tuesday night against Northern Kentucky, and they put out a statement and we're tired and long travel and SEC series and all this stuff. What they should have said is Northern Kentucky's got the number 276 RPI, and we're right on the bubble, and we don't want to risk that because and that's one of the big complaints about RPI is that you can beat the pants off a team, but just by playing them in the first place, a lot of times it'll ding you in that RPI, and so that's where I think that the DSR is one of the things that they really tried to take into consideration is that you don't get penalized for winning a game, which I think is the right way to do things. RPI is a very flawed system. College basketball got rid of it 3, 4, 5 years ago. They went to the net, and it's not going to surprise me if in the next 3 to 4, 5 years we're talking about baseball doing something similarly where maybe it's the DSR, maybe it's something else, but where a different metric comes along and is demonstrably better than the RPI.
I view it like a lot of things. Like, where's the common sense? Like, it's 2026.
In the NCAA?
Yeah, I mean, in NCAA, SEC, and everything. It's like, can we not figure out a system? I mean, there's a lot of smart people out there. Let's put Elon Musk on it or something.
Not a lot of them working at the NCAA office in Indianapolis.
Exactly. Let's get someone in charge that can come up with a system. I mean, it can't be that hard. I mean, I don't know. Did you see Josh Holliday's interview? He was talking about it.
I have not.
He was just saying that
this is the Oklahoma State coach. For those who don't know.
And I mean, I like him. I've always liked him. They asked him about it because they asked about some of the teams that had canceled, and I guess they just finished up their game, and he's like,
well, they played ORU the other night, which could have really hurt them in the RPI.
And he just said, look, he said, we got a chance to play tonight, and we had guys get better. They developed. We had a few guys get hits. He basically just saying, that's not us. We're not going to cancel games like that. We're going to play our games because we want our guys to develop and get better. And he said we had some guys gain some confidence. I thought it was pretty cool what he said. And I think someone asked Dave, and Dave kind of gave a politically correct answer.
Well, he's getting ready to play at the team that's kind of at the center of the conversation this week, Kentucky, or one of the teams.
Yeah. So he just said we don't schedule games this time of year.
By the way, I would not want to play Oklahoma State right now. They look like Golden Tempo at the Kentucky Derby. Like they were back here, and now all of a sudden they're up here, and they're surging past a lot of people. There's still some talk that they might be able to get a regional at home. Again, are you looking at the DSR or the RPI? RPI would say no. DSR, they're number 18. So, maybe we've been talking about Lawrence being a possible place that Arkansas goes. Maybe Stillwater is in the conversation if Oklahoma State continues this trajectory they're on. But I think they're maybe 10-2 in their last 12 or 11-2 in their last 13, and a lot of really good wins in there. They swept TCU. They went to Tempe, won a series over Arizona State on the road. I think they swept Texas Tech during that time too. Texas Tech's not as good this year, but man, Oklahoma State, like you always look at those teams that are getting really hot at the end of the regular season and thinking that's not who you want to play in the postseason.
Right.
Kind of like TCU 3 years ago when they came in here. And I think Oklahoma State might end up either they're going to host and you're going to be kind of nervous about going over there as a 2, 3, 4 seed, or they're going to be coming in as a 2 seed in your home regional, and you're like, oh crap, don't want to play those guys.
Yeah, it's just like NC State.
Yeah,
same thing. They got hot at the right time.
They got very hot.
So I mean, I don't know. I guess I listened to like Kendall Rogers talk, and I've read some articles, and everyone's saying, we still have a chance to host. But I look at RPI 27. Last year's the highest RPI was 19 that got in, correct?
Yeah,
that
to host.
hosted. I don't see a path to us getting to 19.
No, I don't either. I think, like, even if Arkansas were to sweep at Kentucky this week, which, a sweep of a 30 to 33 RPI team, whatever Kentucky ends up being, that's going to help some. And then maybe let's say Arkansas goes 3-0 this week and they go 3 or 4-0 in Hoover. I still think RPI, like, the highest they're going to get is probably like 21, 22, which would be out of that 19, which was the threshold last year. But in the DSR, maybe they go up to 13, 14. I don't know.
But, if we sweep them, we got 18 SEC wins.
Which is, by the way, that's a big number, I think. Like, that's one of those stats that they have really liked to hang their hat on the last few years. I think LSU, during the Burtman years, is the only other SEC team that's won 18 or more SEC games as many consecutive years as Arkansas has done, which Arkansas has done it every year since 2018. In 17, I think Arkansas went 17 and 12 in the conference. They had a game rained out at Tennessee. But 18, 19, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, that's 7 years in a row, because 2020, obviously, they didn't play. 7 years in a row, they've won 18 or more SEC games. So I think that's one of those that if they can sweep Kentucky this weekend, that would be – and the fact they were 5 and 7 in the SEC, that'd be a big number that they could hit.
Yeah. Can we sweep them, though? I think we can. I worry about the Sunday game. I think a lot of it depends on how Dietz does tonight.
Do they have to use Gackle tonight? Because if they don't use Gackle tonight, they want to start him tomorrow.
Yeah, if we save Gackle, we can start him tomorrow, and Gackle gives us a good start. Kentucky's not a power team, but neither was OU, and they hit 9 home runs. How many did they hit against us?
Yeah, 9 home runs in 2 days.
So, now they were hitters' conditions for the most part. So, I would go out on a limb and say there's no way Kentucky's going to hit 9 home runs against us this weekend. But
Kentucky Proud Park's a pretty big park.
Yeah.
I remember it being, I think it's 400 to center. I think it's a little bit long or further down the lines, like maybe 335 down one of the lines, maybe 325 or 320 down the other. So I'm thinking that it's shorter to right field, but a deeper part to left.
Yeah. Hey, but here's a stat. I was looking at, they've been hit by pitches 118
times. Oh, yeah, you were talking about this coming in.
This season. And since 23, they've been hit 500 and something times. It's a crazy amount of numbers. And we're a team that likes to pitch in. So
does that tell you they're a team that likes to stand over the plate?
Mm-hmm. I was just trying to figure out how they're scoring their runs. They don't hit a lot of home runs.
Well, they're real aggressive. They lead the SEC in stolen bases and attempts. I think it's 116 and 141. That's overall. That's not in SEC play.
SEC play, 50 stolen bases, 64 attempts. That's a lot of steals.
Yeah, they're aggressive.
But, we're 35 for 40 in SEC play. But, yeah, they get on base a lot. Hit by pitch. They've been hit 48 times in SEC play. To compare that, we've been hit 21. That's a lot of hit by pitches, and and we are a team that likes to pitch inside. So I would assume that means they got dudes standing right on top of the plate. They don't strike out a ton. So I don't know. It'll be interesting.
A few more notes before we get out of here. Sounds like James DeCrimmers, I asked Dave Van Horn yesterday, I said, do you trust him more in high leverage situations after what he did against Oklahoma? And, the gist of his answer was yes. And that's why they put him in that Oklahoma, situation when they did. Sounds like the calf injury's better. He's a really interesting pitcher to me to watch and see what, how he progresses the next couple of weeks. Because, again, that's a guy that you bring in from Oregon State, you got big plans for him. It just hasn't panned out to this point.
So the first time I watched him pitch, I'm like, man, this is a weekend guy. That's a weekend starter for us right there. And and I don't know the calf injury. That's a tough injury if you're a pitcher. Or if you're a baseball player.
Van Horn said he was having trouble landing and pushing off because of the calf injury, and it's been persisting for better part of 2 months.
Yeah, and pitching's, it's all about the lower half. It really is. It's where the power comes from. Well, hitting too, but when you watch him pitch the other night, though, he was fastball 95, good slider, mid 80s. I thought his changeup was really good. There were a couple that he threw his changeup. You could see him pronated. I mean, you could see the difference in the arm action. But changeup was good. Had a lot of movement on it. Arm side run, some depth to it. So I thought he had 3 really good pitches. Can he stack a couple of those outings on top of each other? Because that's, we keep saying we need one more righty out of that bullpen. I mean, if he could go out and repeat that was some good stuff we saw. So hopefully we see that again.
Tyler Bell, the player to watch for Kentucky, he's their shortstop, probably going to be a first-round pick this year. MLB Pipeline's got him ranked number 23. SEC only stats, but he's batting .341. He's got 7 doubles, 5 home runs, and 18 RBI. He's not the only guy you got to watch in their lineup. They got 3 who are hitting .333 or higher, but he's the prospect.
Yeah. Yeah, you look at his numbers, pretty good. I didn't realize he was a second-round pick.
Has he been a second-round pick before?
He was a second-round pick out of high school.
I didn't know that.
Turned it down and went to Kentucky.
Right. How many second-round picks have ever turned down baseball to go to Kentucky?
Yeah. It's kind of weird, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, like maybe some second. Well, I guess you can't turn down the NBA and go to Kentucky, but
wonder what he's driving.
Maybe they can find. He's got the best thoroughbred on campus. Reese Robinette looks like he's going to be available to play. He's not on the SEC availability report for Arkansas. His offensive numbers are not good, but I continue to think like defensively and the value he can add once you get to like the 7th inning if you've got the lead and you bring him in over at first base. That's a big that's a big deal. As we've seen the last couple of weeks, like with Christian Turner's home run or Alexander Peck's the game that he had whenever Rutenbar went out, like it still pays to have somebody you can pull off the bench and make plays for you. And I think Robinette might be able to fit that bill this weekend, at least defensively.
The thing about Robinette is he's not driving in a lot of runs, but I guarantee he's saving you a ton of runs at first base. Height, wingspan, some of the balls he can get to that. And I love Carter Rutenbar, but there's just balls that he's not going to get to.
It's a 5 or 6 inch difference in height.
Yeah.
And what that is in wingspan may even be greater.
And it's not as much. I see it more. The balls that you stretch out and you can pick and stay on the bag versus the high throw. There's not as many high throws as there are throws left or right that you got to get out there and pick, or even the ones that you get out there and you catch before it hits the ground. You don't have to pick it. There's just so many advantages for a guy that's 6'4" with long arms.
Alexander Peck, we saw that too.
Yeah.
What's he, about 6'3"? And
he's 6'4",
he was able to make a lot of
205.
big plays, he was able to make a lot of rangy plays. I guess maybe the right way to say it at first.
Yeah, he went left and right. There was one ball that he was able to go out and get before it hit the dirt that Rutenbar would have had to pick. I mean, it's just doesn't mean Rutenbar's not. I think Carter's gotten way better at first base, but I mean, it is what it is. I mean,
he's
if
playing
you got
out of position.
Yeah, if you get a 6'4" guy there, he's going to save you. He's going to save you some errors for your middle infielders because there's going to be throws offline.
It's no different than when Cam Kosel played first base last year and Robinette took over for him.
Yeah.
First base got a lot better.
Yeah. Think of like Trevor Ezell.
Yeah.
Playing first base.
Yep.
5'10" maybe with spikes on.
Yeah.
Big spikes.
So 5:30 tonight, 5:30 tomorrow, 1 o'clock on Saturday. Those are the game times. I think there's a little bit of rain maybe in the forecast Saturday afternoon that they might have to watch. But for the most part, the weather looks really good up in Lexington this weekend. And by the way, this is that 1 weekend a year I like to remind everybody. There's an SEC rule that says if you can't play that third game by Saturday, you can go over to Sunday and play by a certain time if the result of the game affects seedings at the SEC tournament, which we've already established. Pretty much every game this week is going to affect seedings at the SEC tournament. So just keep that in mind. If for some reason that comes into play, whether it be in Lexington or somewhere else this weekend.
Can we have Texas and A&M go back and play?
No, they
that
can't
third game?
retroactively play. It just has to be. It just has to be the matchups this weekend. Once again, our baseball podcast brought to you by H&R Tire and Auto. They're proudly family-owned since 1976. Trusted across Northwest Arkansas, committed to keeping you safe on the road all season long. You can learn more or schedule service at hrtireandauto.com. Christina Long's going to be in here tomorrow. Wonder what she'll have to talk about on the podcast. We'll see when she's in here, but she's going to be in here for me tomorrow. Bubba and I, we think we'll be back on Monday. Hopefully we're not on the road to Hoover on that day, but hope to see you then or at our website.